sorted. Well, today you're joining me on the rather changeable banks of Shearwater, where 15 minutes ago this swim was bone dry, all of my rods and reels and alarms were clean. Now they are plastered in muddy sandy spray because it's absolutely poured down, and it's been very changeable all morning, and it's actually early afternoon now, but the forecast, weatherman says it's supposed to clear up and be sunny this afternoon, so hopefully I can get some floaters out and start catching them on the surface. But that doesn't mean I haven't had my fair share of fish so far this morning. I've had double takes and even a triple take so far, so you are joining me midway through this session. Now the rods and reels I'm using today are actually what you'd normally see during a Prologic versus match, because these are the Prologic C series rods and the 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀 reels. I've used these for the last couple of years in all the versus matches where I've done pretty well, I think. If you haven't seen them, then do go back and watch them, but a bit of a spoiler alert, I've won a lot more than I've lost, and that's partly down to the kit I'm using, but also because I just think I'm a supreme angler over Luke, and I've even beat 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 on one of them as well. So they've stood me in good stead throughout the matches. I've enjoyed using them, and unlike a lot of products we get sent our way, I've been able to keep my hands on these and use them multiple times, various different venues, whether it be where I am today at Shearwater, not fishing at very good big range. Then I fished at Drayton, I think we fished at 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 as well, greater distances. So I've been able to use them on smaller and larger venues, so I can give you a bit more of an oversight of how I found these rods on all of those different venues. Now these are the C series rods, they're 12 foot 3.5 pound test curve, and the reels, as I mentioned, are the 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀 reels. Now to start with a 3.5 pound test curve rod, you think they're going to be pretty stiff, surely. So we'll talk firstly about the casting capabilities of these rods. Now when it comes to casting, that's one of the areas where I feel like this, for a 3.5 pound test curve 12 foot rod, is actually fairly soft in comparison to a lot of others I've used. And that's not to say that you can't cast great distances, because as you've seen, I've used these rods throughout the series of the Versus series, where I've used solid bags, 80-90 yards. That's casting quite a heavy weight, a decent enough distance for something like this. But if you're someone that's looking to cast a few extra yards but are worried that the 3.5 pound test curve might be something you can't compress very well, do not be worried, because this, if I was honest, I would say feels more like a 3 to 3.25, but clearly there is enough back butter in this. We've seen these tested by people like 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲 casting these at great distances, but for my casting capabilities, I can compress stiffer rods than this. But as you'll see, casting is nice and easy. Still cast a fair old distance, but as you see from some of the slow-mos, there is quite a lot of bend in this rod considering it's a 3.5. The recovery is decent enough. Again, you've got to have this in mind, that this isn't a really high-end expensive rod, so you're not getting maybe the lightest guides on the market or the fastest recovery, but for someone that wants an entrance level 12 foot 3.5 pound test curve rod just to get casting those sort of distances, I really don't think you can worry too much about it. And that does also mean that when you come to playing fish, they are an absolute joy to use. That ain't no bream this time. Now when it comes to playing fish, as you can see, there's a lovely bend in this, really progressive. And that's the thing I've enjoyed the most about these rods. It's just how lovely they are to play fish. I mean, I haven't really caught any monsters on any of the matches. I've had them up to over, well, I think mid-20 actually, and all putting up a good scrap. But as you can see, every single one, even if they're small, is just a joy to play. Even the head nodding is just so well cushioned. And that's all thanks to the part that this is not as stiff as you'd expect the 3.5 pound rod to be. And that's no disrespect to this rod, because take that away from it, that label of the test curve, they are lovely rods to play fish. They really are. Now, knowing the stamp of fish here in Shearwater, this is likely to be a 10 pound common. But the way it's fighting, the way these rods make every fish feel, you could be playing a 20, maybe even a 30 at times. It's just such a smooth playing action. I'd go too far to say is for a 12 footer, they're one of the nicest rods I've ever used for playing fish. Helped to bring this fish in with the Prologic 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀 reels, which I've been using throughout the whole series. I'm gonna have to get in the water because it's very, that was me. If he doesn't go around the tripod. I think I've got another fish on. And he's in. Right, what's going on with the other one? I think I've got a fish on the left rod. Have I? Yes. I sent one of them long because there were some fish showing. And rods and reels and tackle apart. The venue I'm at today is Shearwater. It's a nice local one for me. It's on the catch up. And if you want action like this, pretty much all year round, but this time of year, if you just want a bend in the rod, someone to get a few fish under your belt if you're struggling elsewhere, this really is the place to come. It's great fun. Now, I was down on the hole talking about the play and action of these rods, but another rod doing the same job. Such lovely play and action. The reason the bite was fairly timid on this one, because of this one I just sent a single as far as I could to where some fish have been showing. And that's pretty much a double take. One rod left on the rest. Maybe that one will go as well. That's why I brought a couple of nets. But if you go fishing for the pure enjoyment of it, genuinely, these rods are an absolute blast to use on this sort of venue, this sort of stock of fish. Really good fun. Oh, I got a double take. Oh no. Oh, one's off. No way, I've got a triple take. Well, it's been a manic few hours fishing, and this was actually the last of a triple take, probably one of my first ever triple takes. So a bit manic. I actually lost one of them. The other one was a small common, and then this one was the last one, and a very pretty little mirror. First mirror of the day, and beautiful scales, and all extremely fun on the rods. This one has been a bit lively on the mat, so we're sticking back, and I'll talk to you about some of the last little features of these rods. Well, the mayhem of that triple take has now passed and the rods are back out on the deck. And I've got to be honest, this right hand rod is just a bare lead in the margin, just for the looks, because 2 rods is going to be enough from now on. I think that was absolutely mad and a bit too much to control. So we're down to 2 rods now, and hopefully some fish will come back into the swim very shortly. And that little burst of action was because I put a bit of bait in. If you're on a venue like this, and if you know Shearwater and you think should have had a bite, odds are they've cleared you out and they've moved on. So an introduction of bait is what resulted in that triple take. So very, very welcome. Now, a few other things to pick up on outside of the casting capabilities and the play in action is how the rods actually look. Now, they're fairly understated, sort of a matte black all the way down, a little bit of gloss whippings here and there. The reel seats are quite funk. They've got a sort of grooved texture to them, so they're slightly cut out, so it gives them a nice textured, grippy feeling, just something a bit different. And then the reel seat, or the reel handle, sorry, down here is clear. Then it's almost like a shrink wrap type finish at the very end with a flared butt grip, and that handle grip is really nice to grip onto when you cast in a bit further, putting a bit more well into your cast. Even when it's wet and mucky like this, there's no way of your hand slipping off that butt grip because it is flared. It's really nice and comfortable on the handle. And the handle length itself as well, as you saw from the casting, it fits me perfectly. Now, I know I mentioned my height in a lot of videos. Someone even commented this recently as a few things that are sure in life, but one of them is me mentioning my height in a video. But it's all relative to the products I'm reviewing. And I'm about 6 foot, so it works perfectly with my arm length. Of course, that's going to change person to person. But with a 12 foot, 3.5 pound test curve rod, this reel handle is the perfect length for my sort of height, and that just aids with that casting and just the playability and the feel of the rod in your hand. And the one other thing I really want to pick up on is the line clip. Now this is something that doesn't come as standard on a lot of rods, and even some higher end rods, they don't bother to put them on. It really frustrates me because I do like to use a line clip every now and then, so it's nice to know that these are included on the C series rods. They're line friendly as well. I've used them loads. I'm not using them really today because I'm fishing fairly tight lines on a shallow area of the lake, so I don't need to be having the bobbin on a drop. It's pretty obvious when you get a take on this lake at the moment, so I'm not using the line clips, but I've used loads on this session, or earlier today, sorry, but also on other trips. Line friendly, I've never had any kinks or any damage to the line, so that's a nice little addition to the rods. So that's pretty much the C series rods in a nutshell. I'm not sure when the next Versus is going to be, but I'm sure that when they come out, they'll bring me to another victory. So for more information, please do head over to the Prologic website or pick these up online. I've just had a quick Google. These are currently for sale for just $49.99. That is exceptional value for money, and that's obviously gone down since I started using them. So if you want to pick some of these up for yourself, you can get a set of 3 for less than 150 quid, which I really don't think you can complain at. So for now, that's it from me. Hopefully one of these goes off again soon, and I'll see you again soon. Felt like I tried to almost go a bit seductive then at the end. That was a bit weird, wasn't it? We'll leave it in. See you soon. How you doing? This is why people don't like me. Bosh!